You know, the moms are not just gathered here today, but we've been here through the weekend. And last night, when we were having dinner together, 100 moms huddled in a room. I guess 100 of us can't really huddle. But as we were sitting in the room, I got a treat for dessert. I got this little piece of candy. And as I sat next to Candy and held her hand, I said to her, Candy, what do you want me to say? You've done so many things in your life. What do you want me to say to introduce you? And she said, could you please not say anything? I have so much to tell these women. I want all the time for myself. So I'm just going to say one thing, and that's that her husband, Ben, is very lucky to be married to her. Welcome, CandyCarson.
That's so sweet. Please have a seat. It is so wonderful to be here with such dedicated moms. And I'm going to apologize at the beginning because they only gave me 8 minutes, and even I wrote it out, and I was able to do it in 8 minutes and 10 seconds yesterday. So pardon me for reading, because if I go off this, then I'll go off. So please forgive me. I'm going to read it because, and it is from the heart. I wrote it and rewrote it. So again, pardon me. First, I'd like to thank all of you who you are and for what you do. You wouldn't be here if you were not dedicated moms. So thank you for directing, enriching, and nurturing the lives of your children to prepare them to be dependable, dedicated people who can be trusted not only with their futures, but with the future of our nation as well. I think we're all aware that our country is in danger in several ways. Number one, the $20 trillion debt not only puts our entire nation at risk, it also threatens to rob future generations of the many opportunities that we ourselves have had, and the privilege of choosing, and also any sort of reasonable lifestyle. In the past, each generation would try to make things better for the next generation. But our generation is stealing from our children and grandchildren with this exorbitant debt. When it was $18 trillion, to pay the debt off at a rate of $10 million a day, and that's nothing to sneeze at, that would take 5,000 years. Number two, our borders are so open that not only are Central and South Americans crossing illegal into our country, but this illegal highway is being utilized by many from other countries who infiltrate so they can bring America down. When we visited the border on the campaign trail, the sheriff showed us areas along the border where a truck could easily drive through. And with the law being what it was last year, the sheriff would periodically receive calls from the federal authorities saying something like, we have 3 illegal aliens, we're going to drop them in your jurisdiction. And each of them would have a rap sheet about as long as your arm. And the sheriff would ask where they were going to be dropped, wanting to consider the safety of his constituents. Well, the response would be, we can't tell you that. Now, how in the world is the sheriff supposed to protect his people if he doesn't know where these hardened criminals who got into America illegally are? Number 3, there's Kim Jong-un, who would love to show off to the world that he can beat the United States to prove how much stronger and better his country is by using nuclear weapons. With the financial sanctions against his country, he would be more than willing to sell his nukes to anyone, including terrorists. And these terrorists have their own set of rules about what's right and wrong. To them, blowing up the whole world would be a good thing for their ill-conceived cause. Number 4, there are others who want to destroy us besides the terrorists and want to establish a new world power. Number 5, our electric grid is extremely vulnerable and would be devastated by a blast in the exo-atmosphere or a way past due electromagnetic pulse from the sun. We don't have a backup system in place. Cars, traffic signals, TV, your cell phones would not work. It would be mass chaos all over. Number 6, healthcare. Number 7, education. 8, taxes. 9, employment. I know I didn't name them all, but you get the gist. How do we get here? By allowing our representatives, many of whom don't truly represent us, kick that proverbial can down the road. Their reasoning, we don't have to deal with this now, let's just table it until later. Our founding fathers said our system of government is based on a well-informed and well-educated populace. But we are not truly educated anymore. Our schools' books have been rewritten with a focus on indoctrination rather than true history. And many of the mainstream media, I only have 8 minutes, please. And many of And many of the mainstream media have become unethical in their reporting, often putting out bold-faced lies as to what actually happened. Clap here, yeah. Thank you. But our nation is sick and wounded. But we do have people who care. Although the various departments of the current administration do not all have their assistant secretaries in place, the heads of each of those departments, they're getting things done. You don't hear about it in mainstream media because they have a different agenda than keeping our citizenry informed and America strong for future generations. And although they are the only business protected by our Constitution because they're supposed to keep everyone informed of the truth, they have become unethical and manipulative to try to steer the minds of everyone to their way of thinking. Those who want to take over our country knew they only needed to gain control of three things in order to bring the United States down: our children, the press, and our judicial system. For the children, it was Vladimir Lenin who said, "Give me 4 years to teach the children, and the seed I have sown will never be uprooted." The stuff they've been teaching our kids reflects this philosophy. Checkbox number 1. The press, fairly obvious. Checkbox number 2. And our judicial system, they almost had it. If President Trump's opponent had been elected, they would have completely succeeded and reached their goal. And this goal is something they've been working on since the 1950s. So of course, with that goal so close within their grasps, they've had a hard time dealing with reality. As a result, they belittle and make fun of any little nuance, ignoring the actual facts. Yesterday was the anniversary of a rather short but famous speech. I'm sorry. You all remember Nathan Hale, the Yale graduate who became a teacher and enlisted with the Connecticut militia when the Revolutionary War broke out in 1775. A couple of months after the war started, General George Washington was desperate to get intel about the Brits' movements to prevent them taking New York City. When he put out a request for a spy to scout out the situation, there was only one volunteer who responded to this request: Nathan Hale. Well, one of Lieutenant Hale's officer buddies tried to talk him out of such a dangerous mission, but Hale's response was, "I wish to be useful, and every kind of service necessary for the public good becomes honorable by being necessary." He continued, "If the exigencies of my country demand a peculiar service, its claim to perform that service are imperious. If the exigencies, those urgent demands of my country, demand a peculiar or different sort of service, our country's claim to perform that service, we've got to do it." Hale was captured on September 21st by an American loyalist, a traitor to the American cause, and British General William Howe ordered Hale to be hanged the next day without a trial. Hale wrote a farewell letter to his mother and brother, but it was destroyed by the Brits, who didn't want it to be known that a man could die with such firmness of conviction. Hale requested a Bible. It was denied. Hale requested a clergyman, also denied. The Essex Journal later reported, and I quote, "At the gallows, he, Hale, made a sensible and spirited speech. Among other things, he told them that they were shedding the blood of the innocent, our Americans, and that if he had 10,000 lives, he would lay them all down if called to it in defense of his injured, bleeding country." Freedom is not free. You have to be vigilant and useful, as Nathan Hale said. In the Bible book of Proverbs, it says, "Train up a child in the way he should go." Hale would not have been so dedicated to his country had his mother not instilled in him that tenacious resolve to do what is right. And think about this. In the midst of all these devastating hurricanes lately, you see the positive peer pressure of people whose mothers instilled in them the Judeo-Christian principles of caring about your fellow man and helping each other. The positive peer pressure of these caring ones multiplies when those who were not brought up that way see their positive example and join in and help out too. However, in our vigilance for freedom, we must also keep track of those we have voted into office. Please go online and check to see how they voted on issues. And if they're not behaving as Hale said, for the public good, vote them out. When you look at the news, watch both sides, Fox and any other one, to get an idea of what's really true. The senators who are holding up progress, should they remain in office if they're not doing the job of representing us? I think not. On a more positive note, there's a particular patriotic family that's determined to help the U.S. get our Judeo-Christian values back, and that's the Green family that developed the Hobby Lobby chain. The Bible Museum established by this family, yes. The Bible Museum established by this family owned the largest collection of biblical scrolls in the world, but they're going to be opening this Bible Museum on November 17th. They had a replica of the Liberty Bell made, and it's tuned to the same note as the one in Philly. At 11:17 a.m. on 11/17, that replica of the Liberty Bell will ring. And they've coordinated with churches all across our nation to ring at the same time. Let freedom ring. Remember in our Declaration of Independence, our liberties come from who? God. And although it's not a part of the Smithsonian, admission is still free. There's displays of the Bible and also displays on the impact of the Bible, including prisoners who learned about it while incarcerated and later became preachers of the gospel. There's a place where you can walk on water, a place where you can be like Samson and knock down walls. And a 140-foot-long digitized ceiling can display biblically themed artwork from around the world. It'll be the Sistine Chapel for a few minutes and then morph into another beautiful painting. And the two 40-foot-tall brass doors at the entrance are larger-than-life reproductions of the Gutenberg Bible printing plates of the first 2 pages of the Bible. So the challenge is, don't lose hope. Keep persevering in your vigilance, nurturing, enriching, and enlightening as God continues to bless America through you. Thank you.